head of NFL refs, long time ago, once upon a time now, the man who holds everybody's feet to the fire during the games on Fox Sports. Good to see you again, Mike Pereira.
Nice to see you.
Why are you holding your cell phone in your hand here?
Well, because I was on USA Today Sports Online. Very important article. You say, who's the best team in the NFL?
Yes.
USA Today Sports. Who's the best cheerleading squad in NCAA college football?
And this is how you're preparing for your segment on the Rich Eisen show?
It's an SEC bias, once again. Alabama won, Kentucky too. What are you going to do, SEC?
No, my goodness gracious. Mike Pereira, the things that you're... Put your cell phone away, will you please? Let's be a little bit more professional here, Mike.
Thanks.
All right, Mike Pereira of Fox Sports is here live on the Rich Eisen show. First play I want to discuss with you is the one that most of the country saw, the very end of regulation between the Saints and the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy Graham coming down basketball style, as is his wont, with the Hail Mary to end the game, seemingly to the point where Jim Harbaugh threw his play call sheets up in the air, which he had to then collect for an overtime that was brought about by an offensive pass interference call. Do you agree with that call, Mike Pereira?
Absolutely, 100% I do. You know, people say, well, they don't call it in that situation. Well, you know, I understand that. That's the jump ball situation when everybody's in the end zone, but when you're going downfield, a two-handed shove, although Jimmy Graham said he didn't push off.
He said that it was a flop by Parrish Cox.
Well, maybe there was a bit of an exaggeration by Cox there, but again, this is a two-handed push, and I'll tell you, the league would have a hard time answering the question, why was offensive pass interference not called? If they didn't, they'll have a much easier time defending this, because clearly a two-handed push, as they're going downfield, creates the separation. This has to be called.
There was another play call that I want to talk to you about in the Pittsburgh New York Jets game, where Michael Vick is scrambling outside of the pocket just right before halftime, 17-0 Jets, and the ball is then loose because as he was going down to the ground, going out of bounds, he gets contacted. Seemingly it looked helmet to helmet, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is it sure looked like the ball was let loose before any of the knees or shins hit the ground, and then after further review, because Tomlin threw the challenge flag, it was before the 2-minute warning, they stood as called. Wasn't that a fumble,
yeah,
Mike?
You know, I think it is. I mean, I think it's a fumble, and I think New York thought it was a fumble, but that's the magic word now, is thought. If you think something is a fumble, you don't reverse it on what you might think. You have to have definitive evidence.
That's not definitive evidence? Because it sure looked
I think
like
it's really close to where whether or not the right shin gets down on the ground, and you see here, and you can watch it, is that right shin down when the ball first pops out? It's really close. And I talked to New York about it afterwards, and we kind of had a discussion. And their response was the same.
When you say New York, you mean...
I'm talking about the officiating department.
At the
NFL.
Your old stomping grounds.
My old stomp. I still have a chair there named after me.
Mike Pereira.
Although it's not the Mike Pereira Command Center. It is the Art McNally Command Center.
Well, for good reason.
But,
yes.
You know, when talking to them, because I like to know their rationales, they said they thought it was a fumble. But thinking it's a fumble was not enough to overturn it. And I think it brings to the greater question is, you know, where are we statistically in the percentage of reversals now that New York is involved?
Where are we then?
Well, there's a lot less reversals. I mean, if you take a look at through the first 9 weeks of the season, 8% less turnover, less reversals. The number of stoppages is the same, but it proves the point that Blandino and Riveron are going by a philosophy, Dean Blandino and Al Riveron, that they're not going to change anything unless they are absolutely 100% sure.
But isn't that the letter of the law, though?
It is, but when you look at it, just take this one play with Michael Vick. I mean, Blandino and Riveron say it's not enough to overturn it, but Mike Carey on CBS comes on afterwards and says he would have reversed it. So if he'd have been under the hood on this same play last year, he would have reversed it, but the philosophy being a little bit more slanted toward the rule in New York, they're saying it's not. So that's why you're seeing, to me, the drop in the number of reversals and looking for more definitive evidence to overturn.
Mike Pereira, do you have a question, Chris Law? Do you got a question, Chris?
I have a question, Mike. So on a play like that, does it ever happen where the ref goes under the hood and says, hey, I might have missed a blow to the head there on Vick, which would have been a personal foul. They would have kept the ball. It's such a close play. We are going to say the ruling on the field stands and it's not a fumble because we missed an infraction of a rule penalty and it's a wash, or can you never think that way as an official and never do that?
You can never think that way. You have to go under the hood and only look at things that are reviewable. And a blow to the quarterback says, by the way, I think this is shoulder to the head. And it's not the new crown of the helmet rule anyway.
But you
can't use that that philosophy, so to speak, of since you missed one, let's make it up by not
Let's
doing
get this straight, though, man. I think everything should be reviewable. Everything. And I know Belichick has said that before, right? And everybody's the look that you're giving me for the radio listeners is you've rolled your eyes, you sighed. It doesn't mean more challenges, Mike Pereira of Fox Sports. It means that you can now go ahead and review everything. This helmet-to-helmet stuff should be reviewed. It happens so quickly. The officials err on the side of caution and player safety because that's what they've essentially been told to do as part of their being the thin blue line out there on the field. Go ahead and review that stuff.
Well,
go ahead and
two
do
things.
it. It means so much, those
let me just
15-yard
say
penalties.
this. You know, in terms of the hits on defensive receivers, you've seen a lot less this year.
Yes, you
because
have.
there is not that line anymore where it says, call it if you think it might be. They took that away and said, only call if it is a foul. And I think that's why you're seeing less. Secondly, I get it about wanting to review everything, but how many stoppages do we want in a game?
Same.
No, you don't.
Same.
It's not the same
Sure it
because
is.
you have a 4-minute stretch where the replay official can do anything he wants. Do we want to stop the plays inside of 2 minutes? There's no limit on him. He can stop it. If he wants to stop it 5 times inside of 2 minutes, he can. You know, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, there were 5 stops in that game, including 3 reversals on 1 series. You know, and to me, you get to the point where replay interferes too much, destroys the tempo of the game. And while I get it, while you may want to correct everything, that wasn't why replay was brought in, and I don't think they'll ever get to this point.
Mike Pereira of Fox Sports, before I let you go, I want to talk about this Andre Williams touchdown that the Giants scored in Seattle, and you think that this should have been disallowed, the one that put them up 14-7, as J.D. Walton, the Giants' offensive lineman, is seen yanking him into the end zone. That's an illegal play?
Yeah, this shouldn't have been a touchdown. I've actually never seen one called. It's called aiding the runner is what it used to be called. They now call it assisting the runner. You can push a runner forward to try to get him into the end zone or to get a first down, but one thing you can't do is grab him and pull him. Legal to push, illegal to pull him.
Okay.
And that's what they did here. If they would have called it, would have taken the touchdown away, would have been a 10-yard penalty. It would have been 1st and goal from the 11-yard line. Ends up not having an effect in the game, but it was a touchdown that put the Giants ahead, I believe, 7-0. That shouldn't have been a touchdown.
So that should have been a 10-yard, aiding the runner
Aiding
is
the
called,
runner.
is
Aiding
called
the runner.
assisting the runner is a 10-yard penalty?
Two things you can't do. You can push him,
Yeah.
but you can't pull him. Nor if the runner's on the ground and he's not down by contact, a teammate cannot come and lift him up and send him on his way. That's a foul.
Did you just get an email or a text?
Probably, I know.
Is that one of the cheerleaders from the USA Today article, Mike?
Biased in the side, biased in the SEC.
Saying vote for me. Vote for me. Mike, thanks so much for coming on as always.
Good to be here.
You're the man.
Always.
That's Mike Pereira, that former head of NFL refs.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.